Planning on coming to Nashville for a visit? I have a lot of tips and tricks that are going to help you maximize your next visit to Music City and hopefully advance your career at a faster pace. What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to do a continuation of a video that I did a little while back on the 5 things that you need to know before you move to Nashville. Now this video has had such a strong response and it's actually one of my highest rated videos and the video with the most views on my channel. So I thought that where it was so popular and I've received so many questions and inquiries about this video that I would do a follow-up today with a few more things you should know about coming to Nashville before you either visit or make the move here. Okay, let's jump right into this. So you're planning a trip to Music City, you don't really know what you should be doing, how you can maximize your time, what to do when you get here. Today I'm gonna give you 10 tips on things that you can do when you're planning your next visit. Tip number 1, schedule some co-writes. Now, if you have been talking with people in Nashville, if you've been coming down here more frequently, then chances are you probably have a good amount of friends and co-writing partners that you have already connected with on previous trips. So one of the best things I can advise you on doing is actually using those contacts to book co-writes, because number 1, it's going to give you the experience and the opportunity to network with these writers, to kind of test the waters a little bit on what it's like in co-writes, and really to start building your catalog of songs. Now, if you don't have a good circle of co-writers, the next tip is something that you can do to start advancing your contacts and trying to make new friends that might also be co-writers. Tip number 2 is to go to writers rounds. So if you go online and you look up different writers rounds in Nashville, there are so many going on every single night of the week. You can actually go to these rounds, sit and watch some of the greatest writers in Nashville perform songs they have written. One of the best reasons to do this is because not only are you going to become inspired by what's going on in the city, what people are writing about, but you can actually meet these writers when they're done performing. And chances are there are going to be a lot of other writers in the audience. So you can use this opportunity to network. Go up to them after their performance, let them know you enjoy their songs, and see if they'd be willing to take a co-write with you. At the very least, connect with them on social media so that you can stay in touch for the next time you come in town. Maybe reach out to them at that point and say, hey, we met on my last trip here. I would love to set up a co-write with you, and just see if that's something they'd be interested in. To go along with that, if you've already been taking frequent trips to Nashville, it might be time to actually book a writer's round. And if you don't have the opportunity to book one on your own, maybe you have a co-writer that has those kind of ins and connections to get you on a round. So before you take your next trip, let them know that you're going to be in town and see if they can throw you on a round, or maybe try to organize a round built around the time that you are going to be coming to Nashville. It's never a bad thing to get that kind of experience, and it's going to look really good on social media for you if you're performing in Nashville, and you can also use it as a great tool to invite some of your friends, some of your co-writers, any connections of industry people that you might have to come out and see you perform. The next piece of advice is to schedule your trip at a time when the city is buzzing. And by this I mean, don't schedule your trip when everybody on earth is out of town, if it's a holiday weekend, if it's just a Saturday or Sunday when not much is actually going on industry-wise. You want to have the opportunity to network, to be around people that are the decision makers in the city. And if you end up scheduling your trip on a holiday weekend or a time when the city is really shut down musically, that's not going to benefit you in any way. So try to take into consideration if there's anything really cool going on in the city industry-wise that you'd really like to be a part of. CMA week is always a great time because there are so many artists and so many people in town. This can also go both ways, I will say though. If you have a time when everyone is really busy, they may not have time to take a meeting with you, so you kind of have to weigh it out a little bit. Do you want to be here and be around these people, or do you really want to get down to business and schedule meetings? So just kind of use it to your advantage and whatever it is that you're trying to do at that time, and schedule your trip when it would be beneficial to you. Okay, tip number 4. Definitely try to take a meeting with either BMI, ASCAP, or SESAC when you are in town. Now, I've done a whole separate video on a PRO, what it means to be with a PRO and affiliated with one, and I definitely encourage you to take a trip down here and meet with one of those 3 companies if you are considering pushing your career forward as a songwriter and you want to get all that kind of stuff squared away. Now, when you do take those meetings with either BMI, ASCAP, or SESAC, make sure you come with music available for them to hear, because they're going to want to see what level you are at. And if they think that you're doing really well and it's something that they feel is worthy and that you're ready to pursue this as a career, they may go ahead and set you up with some co-writes or some meetings and things like that. So come prepared with music for them to listen to. And a side note to that, if you do come with music and you play it for them and it's not something that they're ready to take on and set you up with meetings and co-writes yet, that's okay. That just means you're in a beginning stage here, and making the connection with one of these PROs is going to help you grow your relationship with them down the road. So no matter what level you're at, definitely hook up with one of these companies. Book your meeting well in advance, because they are super busy, and I know it's really hard sometimes to actually get in the door and get a meeting with them. So definitely book it in advance, come with your music. Don't be discouraged if they are not ready to jump on board and set you up with all these meetings, because eventually they will be. So you just need to get your groundwork laid, get the introduction made, and then you'll have a good idea of what you need to do to get to the point and the level that is actually going to help you push your career forward. Okay, tip number 5. Don't take a publisher or record label meeting prematurely. Sometimes we feel like if we have a trip to Nashville planned, we have to fit every single thing in that 1 week. It's not always going to benefit you to take a premature meeting with a publisher or a record label, and here is why. A record label may only give you 1 or 2 chances to blow them away, to convince them that you're worthy of working with, and if you take a meeting prematurely and you don't really have anything going on that is of interest to them, you might not be able to get another meeting with them when you finally do have something that is worth sharing with them. I know that you need to be networking, so if you do have the chance to meet somebody at these labels, introduce yourself, stay connected with them via social media, maybe send them a follow-up email about how nice it was to meet them, but it's not necessarily the time for you to sit down with them and talk to them about pushing your career forward. Make sure you have a lot of dates on your books, you have an EP in the works or a full album in the works, something that they're going to want to say yes to. You have to give these people a reason to want to work with you. Going in as a singer, as a writer, just isn't enough, because there are so many people doing the same thing. You really want to be fully prepared and use that opportunity when it can be most beneficial to you. Okay, number 6 is actually one of the best pieces of advice that I was given. When I first moved to town, I met singer, songwriter, Grammy winner Linda Davis, and she has become one of my favorite people in town. She's a wonderful person. She has a wonderful class that she teaches called Stage Performance 101. I'll link her information below, because if you are coming to Nashville, she would be a great person for you to get connected with and take some stage performance classes with. She works with artists of every level. But one of the things Linda encouraged me to do was to go to the MUSICROW magazine office on MUSICROW, and I will link their address below, and pick up one of their magazines. Now, they do a couple different issues. One of them is a publisher magazine, one of them is a record label magazine. The INCHARGE magazine is the best one for you to get, probably starting out, because what it's going to do is it's going to give you the names of every single person in the industry that is of value, meaning all of the record label heads and industry moguls who are really the ones that are the movers and shakers in town that you ultimately want to get to know. One of the best things you can do is memorize who these people are, because it's really going to help you. If you're in a networking situation and you see one of these people, you're gonna know them by name. The other thing that has to do with this is if you are taking meetings with record labels or publishers, it's so much better if you call them or email them with a person's name, instead of just calling the receptionist and saying, hey, this is so-and-so, I really want to take a meeting with your company. That's not going to help you, because more likely than not, they're going to hang up on you or just say, we're sorry, we don't take unsolicited phone calls or meetings at this time. And that's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. But it's going to be a lot more beneficial to you if you call and say, hey, is so-and-so available? I'd like to talk with them. It's going to be a lot easier for you to actually get on the phone with somebody that you need to get on the phone with if it's the exact name of the person in that department you want to speak to. So definitely get down to the MUSICROW office next time you're in town. The magazines are a little pricey, but I definitely believe it's worth the investment to pick one of those up so that you can learn who's who in Nashville in the music industry. Now, going back to the meetings, if you have gotten your INCHARGE, if you do have a couple meetings set up, come prepared to your meeting. This means bring your music, bring a bio, bring questions, because if you're put in a position to actually sit down and talk with someone who has influence in the music industry, like maybe a record label executive or a publisher, ask them questions. This is your opportunity to be inquisitive and to ask and gain knowledge that's really going to help you in the future. So definitely come prepared. The worst thing you can do is walk in there and sit there and have them say, hey, you know, what brings you in today? And you don't have anything to say. So definitely pre-think your meeting before you get there, because you want to take full advantage of having that opportunity. Okay, next, if you find yourself with a full day off or even a small span of time off, the best thing you can do is set some coffee dates or some lunch dates or some dinner dates. Don't spend any time eating or drinking alone. I always like to say that, because if you have an opportunity to sit down with a fellow co-writer or somebody in the industry, conversation is always going to be the best form of networking. If you ask somebody for a coffee and you get to sit down with them and kind of pick their brain a little bit and let them know some things about you and what you're doing, that's always going to be the best way to start forming these relationships that are going to help you in your career moving forward. You can never have too many friends in the Nashville music world, I promise you that, and the best way to do that is to just invite them out for a coffee or for lunch or something like that. And don't forget, if they've been kind enough to take their time out with you, don't forget to buy their coffee. That's just a little classy tip that you want to do if somebody's nice enough to take time out of their day to sit and educate you. Okay, number 9, plan a few trips. Don't try to squeeze everything into the 3 or 4 days that you have off from work to come down to Nashville. Take your time, slowly build these relationships, slowly build these meetings. You don't want to cram too much into your days, because you don't want to be unprepared for 1 or 2 meetings because you spent so much time focusing on the others. Get to know the lay of the land a little bit, drive around, check the area out, go to different writers' rounds. Find out which ones are your favorites, get to know these people. Don't try to do too many things in a too short period of time. Take a couple trips a year if you want, start really getting familiar with the area, and that's gonna benefit you too when you decide to move here, because you're gonna know what areas of town you like best, who your circle is starting to become, and it's just gonna be an overall better experience if you spread out all the things you want to do. Number 10, and the last thing I wanna say, is don't forget your follow-ups. This means if anyone has taken the time to spend with you, meet with you, talk with you, and educate you about how Nashville and the music industry works, don't forget that once you return home, one of the best ways to keep fresh on these people's minds is to send a kind thank you note. A couple words of thanks in an email or even a handwritten note or even on social media is going to go so much further than you can ever imagine. A lot of these people deal with artists, multiple artists, every single day, and to get a little reminder that their time was highly appreciated is going to speak volumes of you. So definitely don't forget to do that. I hope these tips and tricks were helpful to you. If you have any specific questions about coming down to Nashville or what it's like to be here, leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, I appreciate it, and I hope this video was helpful to you. See you next week.